Oh, Jorge, I hope there's a celebratory toddy going on in this mug because, 10,000 views is something to celebrate. Hi, it's me, Wilma Fingerdoo, with this week's episode of Untucked. So let's just get to it, shall we? This week, none of the girls were safe. No one got sent to the lounge early. They were all either in the top or in the bottom. And I think we all can clearly agree which girls were in the top. But it was starting to wear on some of those others, I'm telling you. And Cracker seemed to be in the forefront of all the worrying. I felt that her initial query to the other girls about who they thought was in the top and bottom was really more about what they thought of her, because she strikes me as somebody who hangs a lot of gravitas on other people's opinions of her, which I'm not saying is a solitary thing. Lots of people do it. 10,000 views, I'm just saying. But seriously, you can see it starting to grate on her just a little bit. And I think the reason that it is she's thinking about it too much. She's always thinking about it. Like that costume, her runway, was great. It was great, but there was a lot going on, the barf and the skull and all of that. But it was head and shoulders above her. Cher, I'm just saying. See what I did there, the head and shoulders. Monet was another one who had good and bad critiques. Everyone loved her Cher. It was fabulous, and it was. But that runway was rough. Eureka was another one. Her Cher was a little rough. But her runway is always spectacular. I'm serious. If it's always down to runway, Eureka's going to be in the top 3, hands down. I'm just saying. The one girl who should have been crowing from the rooftops over a performance well executed was Cameron. But I don't understand why the girls were surprised that she wasn't vocal about it. I mean, she's been quiet the whole season. I'm so serious. Clinging to the shadows like a deadly assassin waiting to strike. And she did a great job this week. But I have to say, I totally understand why she wasn't claiming the win for her own. There's a lot of bitches in that room, and they're all ready to pounce. The Vixen. Speaking of the Vixen, Cameron's closed-lippedness seemed to really put her out. Not that she got aggressive, but you could see it bubbling there. The dial was up to 2. Up to 2 her dial went. Because she accused Cameron about being aggressive, about denying that she'd done well. And seriously, if the Vixen is accusing you of being aggressive, you are. I mean, talk about the pot calling the kettle the bear. Seriously. And is anyone else noticing how obvious Cracker's disdain towards Aquaria has become as the competition is heating up? Seriously. You can just see it seething there behind that tight-lipped smile she screws onto her face. I'm so serious. I'm going to go as far as to say that she's jealous of Aquaria. She's not the only one either. And who wouldn't be jealous of Aquaria? She's 22. She's a young queen in the digital age. The world is her Casbah, is all I'm saying. I have to say, I get annoyed when older queens like Monet, who's not that much older there, but she's still older, call young queens like Aquaria cocky. Why isn't it confidence? When an older queen has a solid opinion about herself, it's confidence. Just because somebody hasn't been trotting on the planet as long as you have doesn't mean that they can't be secure in what they know they're good at. Now I'm starting to see where the phrase old and bitter got started. Just saying. Which is why it's such a mystery to me as to why Cracker's so caught up in what Aquaria is doing and how she's saying it. In fact, I think that she and Asia seem to be very preoccupied with Aquaria, which I find hilarious, because if they just stuck to their own knitting, they probably wouldn't be having such a rough time in this competition. One thing's for sure, I bet Aquaria's not losing any sleep at night over either of them. Good for you, Aquaria, say. Can we take a moment to have a laugh at Aquaria's lack of vision? And by lack of vision, I mean her glittery eyes. I thought it was so funny that she spent the whole time looking at people, or not. She just seemed to be following the voices. I'll tell you right now, that look was so gorgeous, I would have put up with legal blindness for it. Seriously. Seen the other girls? I know what they look like. I don't need to see them again, I'm just saying. Personally, I can't believe that Asia was complaining about the Cher she got. Movie star Cher. She said it wasn't glamorous. She won an Oscar. There's nothing more glamorous than that. Ask Meryl Streep. I'm so Serious. But she said that it was the hardest one and she was set up to fail. Have we learned nothing from Thorgy Thor? Seriously, her Cher didn't have a lack of opportunity. She had a lack of vision where it was concerned. I feel that she would have had problems with any Cher. And if she felt that having a more iconic Cher would have been easier, then she relies on her costumes too much, I'm just saying. I will say, though, for somebody who forgot words in the middle of a live performance while being judged, I was impressed with how she recovered. I really am. Most of those girls wouldn't have. And I think she needs to hold on to that. I'm so serious. I have to say I enjoyed that Eureka and Cameron separated themselves from the pack while Eureka had her little stiggy poo. It was nice to get to hear Cameron talk more because she's so quiet. But I also loved that while they debated who was in the bottom, Eureka said, well, who do you think will go home? And Cameron was more interested in those girls just giving an excellent lip sync. What a great attitude that is. I'm sure we all have our preferences as to who we'd like to win and not win, especially as we get further into the contest. But being able to say, I just want to see a good performance, really lets you know that Cameron's head is in the game. A good performance is exactly what she gave this week. That's why she won, I'm just saying. I'm also super impressed with Eureka for admitting that she no longer thinks Asia's her competition. Clearly, Asia was competition off the top, but she has been letting the last couple of weeks affect her, and it's starting to show. I also think that Eureka was very smart to admit that Cameron is her competition, because those two clearly, from the get-go, have had excellent run. Well, okay, Eureka's second week in that jumpsuit thing was a little weird. Best drag? I'm still questioning it. But that said, Eureka and Cameron kill that runway every week. They definitely, if it was just the runway competition, definitely would end up in the top 3 for sure. I'm just saying. So, with their chat done and Eureka's Siggy Poo finished, Cameron and Eureka returned to the Untucked Lounge and landed smack dab in the middle of Glittergate. Glitter versus sequins versus rhinestones. Oh my. I think the point of that runway was to glitter, which Asia certainly did. I mean, I wasn't a huge fan of her look, but you couldn't deny that she wasn't glittery. I'm so serious. It was her Cher that was dull. Just like her excuses, if you ask me. So, the queens returned to the runway where the Vixen was told to sashay, much to the delight and relief of a lot of people on and off the show. I'm just saying. I have to say, though, I was so sorry to see the Vixen wallow in her own demise when it was all said and done. She seemed to be very worried that she had misrepresented her community, which I found ironic because she should have been worried about that out of the gate when she was telling people off before they'd even done anything wrong. But clearly, now that it's all said and done, you can see that she has regrets. You can see that she's not pleased with her choices. And you can tell that she regrets giving off such an aggressive demeanor for the majority, if not all, of her time on that show. Not that she was the worst queen or a bad queen or an undeserving queen. She made it to RuPaul's Drag Race, let's just say that. Hundreds and hundreds of girls apply every year, and she was one of 14 to make it. So here's to the Vixen for that. I feel that the Vixen's biggest flaw during this competition wasn't her aggression. It was not being flawless while she was being so aggressive with the other girls. I mean, seriously, if you're going to start screaming and yelling at people, don't give them anything to scream and yell back at you for. I'm just saying. I did think it was slightly ironic that on her way out she said, if you're not here to win, you should be here to grow. Which clearly she did neither of. I'm just gonna say, I'm hoping that after her talk with Asia, that the growing can start now. I'm hoping that when she watches how she is on the show, that she isn't hard on herself, but does see the points other queens were trying to make. Because they weren't trying to tell her things to cut her down, they were trying to tell her those things to build her up. Well, there's only 6 girls left now. Oh my God, we're getting right down to it. And all I have to say is that if Asia and Monet don't start pulling it together, they could be in trouble. I'm hoping that Monet has one or two flawless outfits on the standby that she's been tucking away for this kind of an emergency. That said, I also think Cracker had better stop thinking too much and just start delivering, or else the three of those girls are going to find themselves in the bottom once again, and that'll be the third time for Monet this season, which, as we've just seen, never ends well. I'm just saying. My fingerdoos are crossed that that's not the case. So, the only thing we can do is tune in to RuPaul's Drag Race next week to see how it all hits the fan. And then when you're done, you come on back to the Fingerdoo review so you and I can compare notes. Don't forget, like the video. Don't forget to share it, because why keep all this hootie loveliness to yourself? I'm just asking. And don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, because I may be a little bit of a video ninja myself and drop a video and you won't hear about it because you won't be expecting it, and I hate for you to miss it because I'm a hoot. Till next week, miss me. Mwah. Seriously, Jorge, I think we need to get some champagne in this cup or something. Celebration. Good times. Come on.